Every day I would meditate and I would listen to my frequencies and I would visualize my bank account. I visualized a specific number in my bank account. Friday night, the people call me and we're like, yeah, we have really felt strongly that we're supposed to give you this gift. And I was like, okay, $500,000.
Today, I'm joined by Henry Penix and Laura Widney, the innovators behind Soak Technologies, to explore how their cutting-edge sound frequency platform is reshaping mental wellness through expertly crafted compositions.
A lot of people think I'm not worthy to even receive this gift, or I may have done something bad as a child or last year or last week, so I don't really deserve this. It helps clear your mind to just be in a receiving mode.
Ashley, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm going to start doing it around downloads.
Yes. The magic is the intentionality that you set behind the frequency. If you set your intention before you get started
100%.
And you really focus your mind as long as you can while you're listening to the frequency and have that elevated emotion going on inside of you while you're setting that intention, that's the magic.
Before we couldn't even measure energy fields, but now with quantum computing, we can. It's scientific. It's not wooey anymore.
Right.
Frequencies aren't wooey anymore.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really excited to have you both here. We were talking before we started about kind of the inception of frequencies in regards to healing and where frequencies originated and their application and all of that. And that's something that I've never explored here on the podcast in over
good.
5 years.
Exciting.
So I cannot wait to get into all of that. But to start, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. I am Laura Widney. I'm one of the co-founders of Soak. It actually grew out of a clinic that I originally started. So, it's been a fun journey getting it from in clinic to a digitized product that we now can share with you.
Henry Penix, CEO, co-founder, and her husband.
Tell us a little bit about the clinic. Let's rewind. How did you land on frequencies used for healing?
Yes, that's such a great question. So I originally had started in the beauty industry, and that's what I did for 16 years. And I loved it. I loved making people feel great about themselves and the glow and all of those things. And then I just really started wanting I wanted to be able to offer people a deeper wellness something, and so what happened was I had somebody who was in the wellness industry, a naturopathic doctor, and kind of just got me into that field. And so very long story short, I opened a health and wellness clinic, a holistic clinic, which we had for 5 years before we launched Soak. And we had a ton of different modalities. We had frequency therapy was one of them. We had IV therapy, massage, body work, just everything that you can find at a holistic spa. And the frequency therapy was the one thing that was always really consistent. It worked so good. There was no side effects, which is great because a lot of, supplements or IV therapy, you have side effects or it's invasive. And then it was accessible. Anybody could do it. It was only 20 minutes, 30 minutes for an appointment. And so it was just consistently one of our favorite services that people asked for. And it just worked so good. And so I kept telling him, we have to digitize this process because, at that point, people had to come into the clinic and do it. And the more you do it, the better. So several times a week, which is a lot if you're busy and have other things to do. And so that was when I kept kind of poking at him saying, hey, we have to digitize this process. And so then we started that process, and then Soak was born out of that with the frequency. So that's kind of the short story of how we got to Soak.
Yeah, it took about 2 years to get the same efficacy as we received in clinic that you could actually get from your mobile phone. You hear how mobile phones are so powerful now, and we were able to transfer that efficacy, and people didn't have to come into clinic anymore and make an appointment, sit there, do their thing, pay $800 to $1,000 a month to get this therapy. Transferred it to the phone. She is always about making it better, faster, cheaper, and she wants it to be passive so that she can do other things while she's using it. So she said, "Okay, make that work." And so it was a fairly tall order, but we, like I said, after about 2 years, we perfected it and started using it and getting testimonials from all around the world now that keep us going.
Let's rewind a little bit and talk about what exactly is frequency therapy.
Yes.
What does that entail?
So frequency therapy, I always kind of tell the story of music. It's sound. So all it is a sound wave. So frequencies are actual megahertz, and there is a frequency for everything. There's trillions of frequencies that have been identified by science out in the world, and our bodies hold specific frequencies. So our heart has a specific frequency, our lungs, our skin, our hair, everything about us has a frequency that is an optimal frequency. And so frequency therapy is the actual megahertz, the sound that comes out of a device. And so when that plays, your cells hear the frequency, and your cells actually start to oscillate and resonate at the same frequency. And so what we did with Soak and what we did in clinic over so many years is we developed frequency compositions. So it's not just one frequency, like everybody's heard of 432 hertz, so that's just one frequency. That's 1 megahertz. So the frequency compositions are layered with multiple, could be 5, could be 25 different frequencies that are created to get a specific outcome. So let's say you're having digestive issues. Well, we have a frequency composition that has everything you could need for that specific issue. So digestion, anti-inflammatory, just anything that might accompany that issue. So that's what we developed in clinic. So the frequencies, again, are just the sounds that are helping your cells resonate at the correct frequency. So the cells are going to be able to heal.
I'm sorry, do the cells kind of rearrange themselves, or how does that work?
Yeah.
I'm trying to envision. I'm a total layman when it comes to this.
Yeah.
So you can
and this is
get
hard
as
to do on a
technical
podcast.
as you want.
I need a whiteboard, but I'll explain it.
That's okay.
So our cells are actually energy. We are very, 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 very little matter. Our bodies are energy, and science has proven that. And so inside of our cells, if we are not oscillating at a healthy frequency, just think of the energy inside of the cell as like going nuts. It's like this way, that way. It's not oscillating in a circle. Okay. So it's just kind of going nuts. And that over a long period of time can create disease in the cell. Well, then that cell replicates itself. That's how we grow. And then that replicates that disease or whatever that chaotic energy is within the cell. So with the Soak frequencies, they encourage that oscillation to go in a circle properly. And it's the same as sympathetic resonance. So if you have 2 tuning forks and you hit one tuning fork and it's resonating at a certain frequency, you hold the other tuning fork right next to it, that one is eventually going to start resonating at the same frequency. So that's what the cell does with the Soak frequency. So the cell finally is like, okay, I'm hearing this certain frequency enough. I'm going to entrain and resonate at that same frequency. And when your whole body does that day after day, your cells become, they oscillate properly instead of that kind of chaotic energy inside the cell.
I kind of liken it to a square tire. Like when you feel anxious or depressed or whatever, inside there's just something not quite right. Like you're just not feeling it. You wake up and you say, I just don't get it. Like I'm not on my game today. That's that square tire. And that square tire is that cell not oscillating in a perfect circle. And when you listen to the Soak sound frequencies, you're listening to a frequency that is unrelenting. And by unrelenting, I mean, it's not changeable because it's digital. It's something that can't change, but your frequencies can, because we have mind, will, and emotions. So when that frequency is played next to your frequency through sympathetic resonance, the one that can change will change, and that's your cells. So when that cell starts to change in resonance with this healthy frequency that we provide from Soak sound frequencies, then that square tire becomes round. And you go, hey, this is cool.
Yeah, it's making me think of homeostasis, right? Our bodies are naturally always trying to find homeostasis. And there's so many things in our lifestyles and things that we're exposed to. And you mentioned like emotions and things like that, that I would imagine throw us out of homeostasis.
100%.
Yes.
And it seems like everybody looks to the tangible things
Yes.
to try to fix that, right?
Yes.
To your point, the supplements, the diet, the exercise, the things that we can like see, feel, experience.
Yes.
So how did you persuade people, if you had to at all, initially in your clinic to try this frequency therapy? Because it's something that probably seems so vague
Yes.
or ambiguous to people, even though it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Well, I want to say something about supplements, if you don't mind, because I've taken supplements all my life. I try to get in the gym. I try to work out. I try to get my energy levels up. And that supplement that I could see and take and digest and all that, sometimes it feels good on my stomach. Sometimes it doesn't. But when I take the digital supplement, which is frequency, that begins to kind of turbocharge my supplements, calms me down, calms my digestion, and just helps that wheel spin and more around. So switching from like a physical supplement, like a vitamin, to a digital supplement for your mental health and wellness, and you're at a cellular level to bring you cellular and cellular healing. It's really cool. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So the persuasion part of it, I love. That's a great question. It's really, it started with us. It started with me using it. And so that was where the light bulb went off for me, because I had access to everything that I wanted to do in the clinic. I could try, and I did. I've tried everything over the years, and I love all holistic modalities. But the frequency therapy for me, I'd sit down and I'd do it on a lunch break, or I'd do it after we close, and I could feel it within minutes. I could always feel the relief that I was wanting, whether it's pain support or PMS support or just anxiety if I was just stressed that day and was like on one, and it would just calm me down. And so I started using it a lot myself. I had a practitioner at the clinic that used it. So she kind of was the OG of like bringing it in, and had her clients using it and had great results and testimonies. And so then I started using it, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is powerful. This is really awesome. And so then I started packaging it with other services. So I would just, hey, try the frequency therapy while you're doing IV therapy, try the frequency therapy while after you get a massage. And I would start just, either giving it away or putting it in the package. And then I started getting those testimonials, firsthand, where people, usually the next morning, people would call the office to say, I slept so good last night. And that's one of our biggest testimonials and our most popular frequency is a sleep frequency. But that was a huge one, and everything starts with sleep. And so,
do you remember when you used the she prompt to entice people? You remember when you used a foot wash while people would come in?
Yeah.
So if you would sit here and take this 20-minute frequency, we would put your feet in warm water and give you a little foot massage, just to say, hey. And before long, we were seeing people in the frequency spa. You'd see guys going,
oh, sound asleep.
They were like, ow.
Oh my gosh.
So and then they would wake up refreshed, like they had a 4 or 5 hour nap in 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah, so that was kind of the biggest push, is me just saying this works. So then all my practitioners, and I'm like, everybody start trying it. Start having your clients try it. And then it was kind of like wildfire after that. That was the thing that people wanted. They came in and they wanted the frequency therapy. So again, that's why I started on him. I'm like, we just need to digitize this, because people really need to do it every day, because your cells, your energy body is subtle, and it takes doing things over and over for that to really stick. It's just like supplements. You can't just take them one day, one time, and it do its thing. And so it's the same with your energy body and the frequencies. And so it needed more
repetition.
More repetition. Yeah.
That's so smart of you, though, to package it with other things, because I feel like people are just resistant to, first of all, resistant to the things that can really help, but also resistant to new ideas.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
How have you overcome that hurdle when you guys did eventually digitize? Did you find that it was hard to get people on board with frequency healing?
I would say yes, for sure. Yeah, it takes a lot of education, and that's one thing that as a team, we go after education and trying to educate customers on what are frequencies, because the craziest part is they have been around since time began, and they're like water. They're everywhere. They make up the matter that we see and experience in our environment. And so it's like, it's not rocket science, but it's a new technology that allows you to be able to push play and have that right at your fingertips. So the technology is somewhat new, but frequencies are not. And so just trying to educate people on that, going on podcasts, and just talking about the science and our own experiences, because if I wouldn't have had my own experience with it, which I have a ton of stories that the frequencies have done crazy awesome things for me, but if I hadn't experienced it, we wouldn't have this company. I have to be a product of the product, and our team, everybody uses them on a daily basis.
But when you see the testimonials coming in too, like I was telling you before the show started, we had this general that came. He was the first guy at 9/11, and when the towers crashed, he was there to get his troops together and get control of the situation. And this was about 6 months ago. He flew to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where our corporate office is. And he said, I want to meet the people that got me off Ambien after like 15 years. Now, we tell no one to get off medication at all. That's up to you and your physician. We're not those people. But he came, and he's this bad boy general, and just, I'm going to do it and all that. And so he said, I want to meet the people that when I got off Ambien cold turkey, the last 30 days, I have slept 8 hours a night like a baby, and I haven't done that since high school.
Yeah.
And so it's those things that continue to build credibility. And then after we won our first contract with U.S. Air Force, that helped. When we won our second one, that once you might get lucky, the second one, you may have something. And so we've really been able to use that as an evidence-based selling tool. But she's right. If you just educate someone that frequencies are normal, they're natural, they've been around since the beginning of time, and now we've taken modern technology, some quantum computing, some quantum theories, and merge that, and then we're able to offer you that from your phone, the same thing you would get in clinic, from your phone, 24/7, 365. We're in 156 countries right now, and there's people out there. There's a community building that not only has accepted frequencies, but they're getting so many great responses. And when you hear someone else's story, it kind of encourages you, and you're going, well, maybe this will work for me. And then you try it, and then you tell two people, and they tell two people. And that's kind of how we've grown. Yeah. It's been all customer one at a time, and very evidence-based.
I feel like because it is so natural, I don't know if you guys have noticed this at all, but I feel like there's a little bit of wellness fatigue. People are overwhelmed with the saturation of the wellness space. And again, all the supplements and all the things that you're supposed to be doing. And so many people message me and say, how do you choose what to do? You have all these people on your podcast, and I'm so overwhelmed. And so they just end up not doing anything. And I feel like this is such an intuitive thing to work into your routine. And we were talking before about like habit stacking, and it's just so easy to incorporate, and it is natural. And you're not out there buying all these supplements and doing all the regimented things. It's just such like an easy micro habit. I love a micro habit.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's one reason I love it so much, is because, all the craze and really the truth is root cause medicine. And so in holistic medicine, it's, you want to do root cause medicine. You don't want to put a Band-Aid on anything. You want to find out why it's happening in the first place and fix that. Well, it's all starts with our energy and our energy body, which really is controlled by our mind, will, and emotions. And so that needs to all be in check, which is prayer and meditation and all those things you do to kind of keep your mental self strong. But then your energy body is the root of any physical ailments. And so if you get sick, if you're inflamed or you have an ailment, well, it started a long time ago in the energy body. And so the frequencies are a root cause solution. We don't say anything is a one size fits all, or this is the magic pill, because there's not. It takes a good 24-hour routine on a daily basis of repetition of healthy habits every day to really create a healthy body and a healthy mind. But the frequencies are just so easy, and they are a root cause solution. And so it's just an easy choice, because like he takes supplements. I don't. I just never really have. He always has. And so I like to listen to the frequencies and eat my salad and, do stuff like that. But he listens to the frequencies and takes his supplements, and the frequencies just kind of help everything you do. Like you said, it's a habit stack. So if you're meditating.
Before we couldn't even measure energy fields, but now with quantum computing, we can. I mean, it's scientific. It's not wooey anymore.
Right.
Frequencies aren't wooey anymore because they were, and like you said, 5-6 years ago, people looked at us kind of cross-eyed. They're going, what? You do what with the frequency? And you're saying this and this. So over time, as quantum computing proves that you can measure somebody's energy field, that's why when you walk into a room, you feel an energy. Like I'm feeling an energy from you, you're feeling energy from us right now. And that can be positive or negative, but we can measure it now. So it's not wooey anymore. So frequency is the new quantum wellness.
And I would imagine that frequency also influences things like emotion and will. And so if there's some kind of energetic imbalance or something is going on there, they probably influence each other, right? So you can be anxious and that can affect your energy and that can affect your physical state and all of that, but it works the other way, right?
With talk therapy, everybody likes to take you back to when you were a child or early on in life. Like what thought did you have? What maybe were you thinking about 5, 10, 15 years ago that manifested itself into this physical problem or ailment? Like, why do you have anxiety? Why are you feeling depressed? Let's go back and find that. Well, that's so cool with frequency because frequency puts you there the second you start listening to them. They find that imbalance, that square tire, and they round off the edges. Like it's really a cool system and a real cool process.
So how does somebody know which frequency to choose?
I know you're going to take this, but I'm going to say one more thing. I can't help myself.
You guys play very well off of one another, by the
She
way.
asked me to start this.
Thank you.
But what was the question? No, I honest to God forgot the question.
Oh, how does somebody know?
I think that's what you get for interrupting.
When she goes, that's my cue to just shut up.
So say somebody is feeling anxious, they're
do
having
you choose?
digestive
Oh,
issues,
yeah.
they're having hormonal issues.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I feel like nowadays it's not just one thing. Everybody
Right.
has a whole laundry
Yes.
list
Okay.
and they're probably all kind of influencing
Intertwined.
one
Yes.
another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was my important thing to say. Thank you. We took the 30 most common things that people presented with in clinic. So it was depression, low energy, brain fog, whatever, sleeplessness, all that. And we made 30 frequencies that would take care of most everybody's concern. And within the frequency, it's not just a single frequency. This is very important. It's a composition of 5 to 25. Sometimes there's 30 frequencies within one solution, within one sound frequency composition. So frequencies are adaptogenic. You've heard that word. They're adaptogenic. So they adapt to what you need when you need it. So if you're listening to a frequency composition of 30 frequencies and you only need 3 or 4, your body will take that 3 or 4 and it will use it as it needs to and discard the rest. So how do you know which frequency you need? Some of it's trial and error, but if you can't sleep, we've got a sleep well frequency. Within that frequency composition, we've got, 25 or so frequencies that make that up, that even though you're not picking the exact frequency that you might need, like say if I need 432 or whatever, if that's not it, one of the other 24 is going to hit what you need.
Got it.
So yeah.
Another cool feature to help you choose what you need. We have like a virtual concierge on our app where you can go in and you can actually ask, I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling anxious or my stomach hurts or, whatever you're experiencing. And we will give you recommendations based off of our library of frequencies. We also have 21-day programs on our app. And so we'll give you all of the recommendations for like, hey, this is what you're experiencing. This is what we're recommending to listen to and to start 21-day programs or whatever. So
I would love for you to share some of your experiences if you're open to it. You said that you had some
Yes.
crazy healing
Yes.
experiences. And I feel like usually when I have people on the show who find themselves in the wellness space, whether they have a product or an app or whatever it is, a lot of it is born out of personal need and personal experience. So
Yes,
I think the
for sure.
listeners would love to hear that too.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened was
You're like, I got this one.
Okay, for 2 minutes. Okay, so a couple stories. I've got some like actual health stories, and I've also got kind of a miracle story that has nothing to do with physical health. But my health story is I had a baby and I had some weight that I needed to lose, and so I have always been able to kind of bounce back, but I've always done it through diet and exercise, which is like the standard. And I was like, you know what? I want to try the frequencies without anything else just to see what happens. And so I went through 6 weeks. I think it was 16 pounds I ultimately lost. But I just used the frequencies and I meditated. And so this is the important part, just using the frequency alone, like the energy, high vibes, or the exercise enhancement or the anti-anxiety, like any of them work kind of for the same goal, is to calm the body where you get out of that fight or flight, so the body helps release fat, basically. And so I did a meditation with the frequencies, and I would listen to different frequencies. It wasn't like a specific frequency every single day that I listened to, but I did a visualization. So I visualized my body. I looked at the scale. Like I went through from head to toe. I went through the whole exercise every single day. I did this for 6 weeks, and I lost 16 pounds just from doing that. I didn't do anything different diet or exercise wise. I remember that time in my life, I really wasn't exercising a lot, and I didn't eat differently because it was like an experiment. So that's something that I love to do with my business in the holistic space I'm in. I like to experiment. So I'm like, if it doesn't work on me, I'm not going to talk about it, and so it has to work on me. So I try things. So that was one really cool kind of thing that I did. I was like, hey, this works. The power of your mind is more powerful than anything else, period. You can change whatever you want to change with your mind, but your mind is like a muscle. You have to use it. You have to use it repetitiously. You have to be intentional about what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're thinking, because you are literally creating the world around you through frequencies. Your mind, your thoughts are frequencies, and you're basically collapsing the energy field around you with these thoughts that manifest to a physical reality. And so I kind of figured that out while we were doing the clinic and doing the frequency therapy. I figured out,
we say in the company what you think about, you bring about, and what you think about most frequently it determines your frequency.
Yeah. So that was one really cool thing. I just had a ton of energy, and that's been a really cool story. My second story is, this was way before that. When we had the clinic, I actually had some business partners at that time that stole some stuff from me. They came in the middle of the night, total crazy situation. They stole a ton of stuff, all the supplements, basically put me out of business because they stole all the nuggets in my business. And so put me in a crazy hard financial spot. And so I'm like, you know what? But I was really relieved because that needed to sever. And so I think that was just God's way of being like, okay, here's the break. And so I was really happy internally, but I was like, okay, I've got a lot of debt now. And so I'm going to need to figure this out. Well, of course, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this whole frequency concept on my problem. And so I started. She
was getting collection letters. I mean, it was bad. It was like, do I go bankrupt? She was at that level.
Yeah, I was in a hard spot. So I was desperate. And so I was desperate. So that really helped me be really focused and diligent on doing my daily visualizations and listening to my frequencies. Like I made it my job because I'm like, I gotta get out of this hole. And I know it's possible if I'm in the right mindset, I can attract a higher vibratory situation. And so I did this I did it for months, every day, probably at least 30 minutes, an hour a day. And I would meditate, I would visualize, I would do the wealth and prosperity frequency for this specifically, or the success frequency. Those are the ones that I did every day.
And let me interject, wealth and prosperity helps clear your thinking. So a lot of people think I'm not worthy to even receive this gift, or I may have done something bad as a child or last year or last week. So I don't really deserve this. It helps clear your mind to just be in a receiving mode. So it's not this like magic
declutters.
Pill.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it helps clear energy debris basically from your thoughts and from your cells, on a cellular level. So I did this for months, and every day I would meditate and I would listen to my frequencies, and I would visualize my bank account. I visualized a specific number in my bank account, and I had that specific number, and it was just what I needed to pay off my debt and kind of live, And so several months later, I get a call from somebody who knew me at the clinic, and said, I have some friends that have been talking about you and want to give you a gift. And I was like, oh, okay.
She didn't even know him.
I didn't know
She
him.
still has never met him.
Didn't
by the
know,
way.
never met him. And so I was like, okay, well, that's great. And so
Wow.
I tell him about it, and she says, they're going to give you a call on Friday. And I was like, okay, cool. So I tell him, he's like, okay, don't get your hopes up. This sounds really crazy.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen.
He's trying to like be protective.
Because they didn't even know her. She didn't know them.
And at that point in time, I mean, one of my biggest like mantras and things that I live by is don't be attached to the outcome of anything, because that really ties the universe and God's hands to give you the best of the best outcome when you try to say, this is the way I want it to be. So in every situation, I'm like, don't be attached to the outcome. It's going to turn out absolutely perfect for everybody involved. So that was always my prayer and my thought about this whole situation. And so she calls me Friday night. The people call me and we're like, yeah, we have really felt strongly that we're supposed to give you this gift. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. And so they were like,
I was going to the gym to work out, and I was thinking about this when I was working out, and I go, because Laura is so open, like she hides nothing, and she believes and trusts everybody. And I go, man, I just don't want anybody to break her heart. Because this was big. This was big in her life. It was a turning point of going bankrupt or believing in this thing that's going to happen.
Yeah. And I didn't want any help from anybody, from
Don't
him.
point at me when you say that. I was trying to be
Well, I want everybody
nice.
to know the context of like
I wasn't helping you.
the situation is like, I wanted to get out
she
of
didn't
this
want me to help pay for it. or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
I wanted
That's
to get
right.
out of this myself. It was my business at the time. He has his own things going on. So that was part of like the grit inside of me to like, I'm going to figure this out. And because I know
control.
it's possible.
Yeah.
And so anyways, they called me Friday and they wanted to give me this gift. And they said it was $500,000. And which was the exact amount that I had been visualizing.
Well, they didn't
on
tell you
my
Friday,
bank
did they?
account.
Did they tell you
told
Friday?
me. Yeah, they told me Friday.
But then Monday, they go, it's going to be in your account
it's
like
gonna
Monday.
be wired to your account Monday.
And they even sent her a thing where she had to sign this deal for the IRS because they also paid the taxes on it.
Yeah.
So Monday, she goes to her bank account at 12 noon, right around 12, right? 12 or 1, because she goes, it's there.
The money was in my account.
$500,000 appeared after all these months of
still never met him.
frequency and meditation and praying. You
Right.
prayed a lot about it, and it was just everything
it was the
worked
exact
together.
amount that I needed. And so that actually
Isn't that
was
crazy?
That's Ashley, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I'm doing this tonight.
I'm going to start doing it around downloads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am telling you,
50 million.
it works so
No, it
good.
does.
And
It does.
the magic, and this is what I want everybody to know and to really leave with. The magic is the intentionality that you set behind the frequency. So you can play the frequency and you will absolutely feel kind of a refreshed feeling after a couple minutes without you thinking about anything. They do work and you can feel them. But if you set your intention before you get started
100%.
and you really focus your mind as long as you can while you're listening to the frequency and have that elevated emotion going on inside of you while you're setting that intention, that's the magic. That's
100%.
when the science behind it, the energy field around you is collapsing and it is changing, and your mind is bringing that higher vibratory manifested situation to you. And then next day, next month, whenever that is, your life's different. The people around you are different. The things around you are different. And so it's so powerful.
I was going to say, it reminds me a little bit of like Joe Dispenza. He
Yes.
talks a lot about this.
Yep.
And something that you said there is kind of the key, right? Is like feeling the emotion of that. And it sounds like you were so desperate, but you really believed that something was going to happen.
Yes.
And I think that so many people miss that part of it and attach to outcomes.
Right.
And I think that we do that to our detriment.
Yes.
And I know like in my own life, I always say like I got sober 10 and a half years ago.
That's awesome.
And when I got sober, I was like, I
congratulations.
want this and that, and we actually do this exercise where you write down all the things that you want for yourself. And then you kind of let it go. And I look back on that and I just have to laugh because I'm like, thank God I didn't get the things that I wanted.
We thank God
Because-
for unanswered prayers.
Yes.
Sometimes.
But then it's like, I've learned to kind of pray, meditate,
Yeah.
turn it over
Yes.
and then see what happens. And the things that have come to pass in my life have been so much better than I could have imagined for myself, because we can only imagine based on our own
experiences,
limited minds,
Yep.
our own experiences.
That's right.
And so I think that, stories like that are so powerful.
Yeah.
Because anything is possible.
That's right.
Really.
Absolutely anything
Yeah.
is possible.
I would love.
she got me on that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know I can interrupt her, but I don't know if
You can interrupt me. Go for it.
I'm teasing.
this again?
I'm teasing. Today is actually our wedding anniversary.
It is?
So we just
Yes.
we just remembered in the parking lot.
We had a family member text us and be like, happy anniversary. And I looked down at the date.
What?
And I'm like, you know what today is?
So yeah, we're
How
doing this
many years?
podcast. He goes, no, 4.
4
Oh.
years.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
So we've
Thank
had a
you.
busy month. That's what I
Yeah.
keep saying.
Yeah, that's
It's
why
I
you're so
forgot.
busy that you.
It's been super busy, but no, she's really taught me a lot about not being attached to the outcome, because I'm more on the business side. I get it done. I've got a plan to go by. I've got my blueprint. Well, but the problem with that is if you don't allow God to kind of speak into that and maybe change things up, you said it perfectly. We're limited by our own experiences and what our finite mind can handle against the backdrop of an infinite universe. And so if we open up to that and say, I want to lean into what is supposed to happen for me, not to me, but for me, and sort of start taking those steps and not, I want to say this too, not thinking about it too much, because a lot of people get paralysis from analysis. Does this really work? Well, I don't know if I want to believe that, or I'm not too sure. You're going to be saying that 10 years from now, and you're going to be in the same place you were in today, 10 years from now. But if you can open that up, open your mind up and say, I'm open to these new things, and I want to walk down my path, not just any path, but my path. Anybody can get to a destination, but very few people will get to their destiny. And to get to your destiny, you need to open that up and not be attached to the outcome, and combine the frequency with meditation, with prayer. And like my son says, he says, I love to watch God show off.
I love that. It's amazing. Yeah. And just to kind of close out here, like the practical application of this, right? People can get the app, and something we were talking about, and I think you mentioned in the beginning, is habit stacking, right? So if they're like, I can't fit this into my routine, I'm so busy, I can't have another thing. You can actually put it on while you're listening to a podcast. You can put it on while you're exercising. Like, how can people incorporate this into their
She was the mind behind the dual audio.
So smart.
And I'll let her explain that, but it's the best thing that's happened to our app.
Yeah. So I wanted to be able to use it because it is passive. So you don't have to be sitting down with your eyes closed in a dark room type of thing for it to work. You can be doing anything. And so I wanted to be able to, I'm always having to choose between my podcast or my frequencies, or my audiobook or my frequencies. And so that's when, I went to the team. I'm like, we got to have some sort of dual audio, because if you can listen to it while you're doing something else, while you're working out, or while you're cooking dinner, like that's the awesome part about it. And so we created that dual audio. So yes.
And that means you can turn on the frequency, the original frequency, and then swipe out of it and go to whatever music you listen to, whatever audio book, whatever you want. And it doesn't have to be very loud. It's kind of like the dog whistle, where the dog can hear it, but you can't, because your cells are listening to it. So you can turn it down a little bit so it doesn't really interrupt the flow of whatever you're listening to. And you can go jogging. You can, pick up around the house if you need to. You can cook dinner. You can, go for whatever, go for a run. And it's the habit stack of doing all those things at once. So we wanted it to be incorporated into your life without having you having to change anything, or to sit down and wait 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes in silence.
Yeah.
That's good too. Like, some people love that. These frequencies turbocharge meditation, by the way. We've got one of the foremost meditators in the world using it. Dr. Michael Beckwith, I'll go ahead and say it.
Agape.
And he loves it. He tried it for 8 months before we'd put his name behind it. And then he finally called me and he goes, Henry, do you understand what you have here? Like, these work in a really big way. And he gave me 2 or 3 of his personal testimonials. And, we were off and running, but But to the dual audio where you can actually play it with anything you're already doing. If you're at the gym, we've got a workout frequency that you can turn on and just you feel it. You feel the energy. And the intention is part of it too. You know, what you think about, you bring about. So you put that on, you intend to get a great workout. And when you're going to sleep, if you intend on getting a good night's sleep and you put on our sleep well frequency, works the same way. Turn it on and rest, get that deep REM sleep that heals your body. And then on a quantum level, you know, it's the quantum wellness. You wake up with all this REM sleep that where your bodies and your cells have repaired themselves, and you're fresh and you're like, I don't even hardly need my coffee. You know, I still drink coffee.
I don't know about that.
No, I still drink coffee, but you wake up fresh, like you've been sleeping for a long time, and that's tough to do. The military contract that we got, training pilots for mission readiness, our request was, can we get something that will help our guys sleep if they're out on a 2 or 3 day mission and they only get 4 hours, that they can land, you've got 4 hours, you got to take off again. How do they get that deep REM sleep that will help repair their bodies? And they're using SOAK sleep well frequencies. So that was a big deal. So yeah, habit stacking dual audio was awesome.
Yeah, so the frequencies are 20 minutes, but sometimes I only turn them on for like 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much time I have, because even if you just were to listen to them for a couple of minutes, they just reset. They reset you. They kind of, I always say, it's like drinking a big glass of water or taking a big breath of fresh air. They just kind of refresh you. So really quickly, and I know we're wrapping up, but kind of my routine on a daily basis, practical application. If I get up, I might listen to the energy high vibes while I'm getting ready, brushing my teeth, doing my stretches. Then maybe I get to my computer, I'm working, I turn on the focus frequency. Exercise, I'll turn on the exercise enhancement. You can listen to them multiple times, different ones throughout the day. You can listen to the same one every day for a couple weeks if you're really wanting to hit a specific topic. And then the sleep one at night. Sometimes we'll turn on the sleep one for our kids while we're getting ready for bed, you know, stuff like that. So it's really whatever you feel like you need that day. You know, there's no really wrong or right way to use them. It's all right. You know, it's just listening to your body and choosing what you feel like you need.
Intuitive, like you said.
Yeah. I think it's amazing.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure everybody listening is downloading it right now and visualizing exactly what happened to you.
Yes. Do it. Anything is possible. Don't forget, anything is possible.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes. We appreciate this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think for your audience, I don't know if we mentioned this or if we should.
Sure.
But
you
for
can
your
do it.
audience,
I'll do it in the beginning too.
Okay. Yeah. But for your audience, we are actually giving a promo code BLONDE, right? So BLONDE for 30 days free. So you get all 30 frequencies for 30 days free. We don't want you to take our word for it. We want you to have your own personal testimonials. Use it, habit stack, do your thing, and tell us how you like it.
You can put it on while you're listening to this podcast.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Well, we've done podcasts.
Don't turn the podcast off. Just
just swipe and
we've done podcasts before that you know of that they actually played it in the background. So we sent one of the frequencies and they put it at a very low level. And while people were listening to the podcast, they were also getting a frequency thing.
Smart.
So we'll send it to you if you want to use it on this one. You will,
Ashley.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah. Surprise everyone. If you feel amazing right now,
Yeah.
you've been listening to frequency therapy the whole time.
Or if you get money dropped, you might choose the wealth and prosperity. So we'll send that.
Yes. Love it. Check your bank accounts, everybody, right now.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's been a blast. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.